Hi everyone, good evening. This is another session of the second series of basically mainstreaming S into county integrated development action plans for locally led climate action. So S is basically stands for Action for Climate Empowerment. Basically, for those who don't know, it is embedded on. It's part of Article 6 of the UNFCCC Convention, and it is embedded on the Doha Work Plan. So it has 6 key elements, which basically are looking into issues of education and capacity building, and it is the mechanism through which young people have to formally engage in the UN climate change processes. So with that, Green Kenya Initiative Trust, in partnership with Green Villages Empowerment Foundation, Mr. Robert is supposed to be here with us, but is having a bit of technical issues. We are holding these online sessions on basically youth engagement on issues of climate change. So this is the second series, and it's looking to focus on youth engagement in national and county climate change policy. So without further ado, today we are going to focus on 3 key counties, and I think because we have the county of Tana River, we have the county of Turkana, represented by Mr. Abednego. He'll introduce himself. We also have the county of Kitui. Uh, we from Kitui we have Miss Agnes, and we have Irene from the county of Nairobi. So with that, I think I'd give the speakers a floor to basically introduce themselves and basically how they engage on issues of climate change in their respective counties. So I'll start with Abednego, kindly, Churukada, because you're the farthest. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dolphin. I hope everyone is getting me. I'm Abednego Lokiro from Turkana County, from the Department of Water Services, Environment and Mineral Resources. And I'm glad to see some of my colleagues, Dolphin, you are in the University of Nairobi, and we've also met with Charles Lukanya. He visited our department mid last year, and I'm very much happy to be part of the team.
Thank you very much. So Agnes, maybe, and then we'll have Irene.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Agnes Katumbe. I work in Kitui Development Center in Kitui County. It's a capacity building organization which deals with rural development activities, which we help the communities eradicate their poverty status. So we have 5 thematic areas which we focus on. The first one is environmental conservation and climate change. We also have food security and agribusiness. The third one is community health and nutrition. The fourth one is social capital development. And then the fifth one is child protection. So we like looking at the community at large and helping them be able to build themselves and increase their resilience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agnes. Irene?
Hi everyone, my name is Irene. I am the Director of Public Affairs and Communication at the Youth Senate Kenya. So basically, the Youth Senate is involved in amplifying the voices of young people in key issues such as climate change, issues of environment, issues of political participation, and issues of education and legislation and policy legislation. So the engagement of young people in policy legislation at the national and the county level. So basically, I'm very excited to be part of this conversation, especially representing Nairobi County, and I look forward to wonderful engagement.
Thank you, Agnes, and thank you, Irene, Agnes, and Abednego for that wonderful introduction. I'll hand over to my counterpart, Charles Lucania. Take us to the next session. Kindly unmute yourself. Charles, we are not able to hear you. I believe Charles is also having a bit of technical issues. As he sorts them out, he'll check. So I'll take this the first session, then Charles will pick next from the next session in the interest of time. So this is basically to all of you. Recently, His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, during an online platform such as this one with the rest of Africa, he made a statement for Africa to urgently address issues of climate change, which basically means that our president, His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, he recognizes the urgency needed for issues of climate action. When we date back to the reports, we have the IPCC reports, the Intergovernmental Panel reports. So when we basically look at this report, we have reports that indicate that the world has about less than 10 years before the impacts of climate change become irreversible, which means there is need for a lot of urgency in addressing issues of climate change. In light of this, I'd like to ask my special guest today, do you think that your county is addressing this issue of climate change with enough urgency? Please highlight how your county is engaged on issues of climate change from your perspective in terms of policies, legislative frameworks, and actions. And I will start where we stopped. I'll start with you, Agnes. Kindly highlight how Nairobi County, kindly highlight the urgency behind Nairobi County addressing issues of climate change. How urgent is Nairobi County addressing issues of climate change in terms of policies, the legislative frameworks, and the actions on the ground? So, Agnes, I'll start with you.
Is it Agnes or Irene?
Oh, sorry,
Nairobi.
Irene. Yes, Nairobi County.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you. Nairobi County is one of the major cities in Africa. So as many other cities that are there around the world, it's grappling with the imminent effects of climate change. So we are seeing issues such as increased health threats, food insecurity, water scarcity, and even rising food costs. And this has been greatly aggravated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite all this, as a response to your question, I still see that our policymakers at the county level are not seeing climate change as an urgent issue. This is because, number one, the Nairobi County Integrated Development Plan 2018-2022, first of all, it acknowledges the government efforts towards enhancing the capacity, especially of stakeholders in regard to solving the emerging issues of climate change. Another thing is that the County Integrated Plan has also highlighted the strategies that the county is going to use in order to address the issues of climate change. One of the things that it has proposed for is that it has proposed for the development of the Nairobi County Climate Change Adaptation Plan and the climate change policy. However, we're still seeing a gap in terms of policy implementation as well as in terms of budget allocation. So currently, there is no climate change policy in Nairobi County. This is because since the annual development plan in 2019-2020 was proposed, there's still no money, there's still no funding that has been allocated towards the formulation of the climate change policy. And without any budget, the county has done nothing in terms of developing appropriate strategies towards solving the climate issues. However, we still have the civil society organizations who have been involved in lobbying for the enactment of a climate change policy. Currently, there is a draft climate change action plan that has also been developed by the civil society organization, and it has been reviewed by the chairperson of the environmental committee at the Nairobi County Assembly. And so far, the civil society has also been lobbying for a budget to be allocated towards the formulation of the same, the formulation and implementation of the same climate action plan for the past 1 year. So I can say currently, with the draft climate change adaptation plan that is yet to be approved by the county assembly, there's still not enough frameworks and strategies, and also there is a lot of action that is needed in terms of implementation of the frameworks that are non-existent in Nairobi County. And therefore, Nairobi County is one of, despite being the biggest contributors of the effect of climate change and also biggest people who are being impacted by climate change, given that Nairobi County hosts the largest informal settlements in the country, meaning that these are the people who are impacted the most by climate change. It still hasn't seen the urgent need for climate change policies or adaptation.
Thank you very much,
Back to
Agnes.
you, Irene.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I keep confusing the two. Thank you very much, Irene. And it basically sounds like there's basically a bit of effort within the county of Nairobi, but from what you're getting, there's potential to do more and there's potential to do better, because you've highlighted some of the efforts. And as you compare to other counties, which I know, like Makueni, which is not present here with us, they are far much ahead. They sound to be far much ahead. I think Nairobi also, like you said, the situation is quite unique because Nairobi is not just a county like any other county. It now has the county government and also NMS, so it's a bit of a complex county. But regardless, I think it is safe for us to say that the urgency of climate change still needs to be there in addressing within the county of Nairobi. So with that, I think we'll go. Yes, we will go to the farthest county, that's Turkana County. So, Abenego, if you could just highlight us, because we've had the case of Nairobi County and where they are. Is it the same for basically Turkana County? How urgent is your county addressing issues of climate change? So, Abenego, is yours.
Thank you very much. Turkana County being one of the ASAL counties, the residents of Turkana County usually experience impacts of climate change. And in the recent years, there have been efforts to develop policy framework and regulation in place to combat this climate change issue. And there is Turkana County Climate Change Adaptation Plan that has already been developed, and this has been done through the effort of GIZ. These are some of the partners that take part in climate change matters in the Turkana County. And recently, we have tabled Turkana County policy, climate change policy. This one has been tabled to the executive and has been tabled with the Turkana County climate change bill with the regulation, that is 2020. This one has been tabled like 2 weeks ago. And this has been done with the effort of Trocare, a partner that has been in Turkana County doing a program called promoting ecosystem-based approaches to climate change issues in Turkana County and governance. So generally speaking, there is an effort that is being done in the county under the leadership of the parent department, that is Water Services, Environment and Mineral Resources. The Directorate of Environment is the one which is mandated to undertake such matters.
Thank you very much, Abenego, for the report from Turkana County. It sounds like they are, from what you're saying, they're about key players, like you mentioned Trocare and you mentioned GIZ. So it feels as if there's a lot of support that has gone towards your country and supporting your county governments in basically putting the urgency on issues of climate change. So I'll rush over back to Agnes. Is it the same Because we've had the reports from Turkana and from Nairobi. Do you also in Kitui County, do you have as much coming in? And what is the urgency at the county level on addressing issues of climate change? So Agnes, the floor is finally yours.
Okay, thank you again. In Kitui County, we have the Climate Fund Regulations 2018, which were established in 2018. And the funds come from, one, the county governments. From their budget, they have allocated 1%, not less than 1%, and not more than 2% to go to climate change adaptation. And the fund also comes from grants from the private stakeholders who can be able to at least assist in the efforts of combating the climate change effects on the communities in Kitui County. There's also a climate change policy that has been drafted, but is yet to be approved by the cabinet so that it can be implemented in the county. So at the county level, there's some work that has been done, and as residents of Kitui County, we are at a better place, but we would like more to be done so that as a country we can have a lot to adapt to the effects of climate change.
Thank you very much, Agnes. It's good to know that at least Kitui County has joined the club of counties that has actually set aside a bit of budget to go to addressing issues of climate change. And I think from your discussion, we can agree that of the 47 counties, each county is at a different level than the other. Because when you look at Nairobi County, they're still trying to set up the domestic enabling environment at the county level to basically embrace this issue of climate change, basically trying to get it into policy. And when you look at the issue of the case of Turkana County, you could clearly see that there is they're a bit ahead a bit of Nairobi, because they already have folk coming on board and offering support to basically to create the urgency within climate change. And when you look at it, it's actually good that there is also that incentive from the county government in the aspect of setting aside a bit of budget to address issues of climate change. I think with that, I'll hand over to my colleague Charles. I'm hoping he has his network issues addressed. So Charles.
Hello, everyone.
Yes.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, my question goes to Irene from Nairobi County. I am Charles Lucania, Green Champion, and I'm very happy to be with you guys for this webinar. And from what I have heard, every county is at a different level, but I think it is good if every plan is anchored around policies, bills, so that even the allocation of budget is supported with the policies and the bills, so that the implementation can be able to be followed. Then for Nairobi, my question to Irene goes: Nairobi County is considered the heart of the country, given it hosts the capital of this country. It is estimated that urban centers such as Nairobi are the largest contributors of emissions. And the National Climate Change Action Plan has highlighted the transport sector as one of the sectors which will contribute to the global emissions. Seeing 2020 as the year where Kenya is reviewing our NDCs, has the County of Nairobi been engaged in the review? And if so, how has it been involved, especially engagement of the young people? Another question to Irene. Can you go with that, or I add another question?
No, let me just answer this first.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, urbanization is one of the major causes of climate change, just as you have noted, and especially noting that Nairobi is one of the major cities in Africa, and with a population of about 4.3 million people, who over 60% are living in the informal settlements, which are highly populated. So, yeah, I can say that urbanization, especially in terms of how urbanization is contributing to global emission, is one of the biggest issues that Nairobi County is grappling with. So, Nairobi County has been involved in the review of the NDCs, as you've asked, and this has basically been coming from especially the civil society organizations, the research institutes, as well as stakeholders within the county government. When we look at the county government has been engaging with various stakeholders like the C4 Cities Climate Leadership Group, there's the Stockholm Environment Institute, as well as the 100 Resilient Cities. And they have been basically looking at how the county can be involved in further research efforts that will contribute towards the reduction of global emissions around, and also contributing towards the reduction of the NTCs. And when we look at how also the county has specifically highlighted its role in terms of reducing its global emissions, we see that in the CIDP, it acknowledges that it has to collaborate with various partners, especially the civil society organization, as well as local environmental innovation institutes, which will help it and to come up with strategies that will control vehicle emissions, for example, that will help organize its urban plans. So currently it has been involved, but mainly through the civil society organizations. So the young people have also been very much involved. For example, our organization, the Youth Senate Kenya, has been part of such engagements where the county has been able to consult with the civil society organizations. So our organization has been part of the people who have been coming together to come up with the strategies that the county will help that could help the county contribute towards its control of such emissions.
Thank you very much, Irene.
Mm.
And the other question I had was, how do you see the role of NMS contributing towards emission reduction in the transport sector, given that this is one of the functions that was transferred to it? We have seen a lot of effort on the footpaths with the NMS.
Yeah.
I don't know what you have to say.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that is being handled right now. And as I've noted earlier, so with the huge population growth in Nairobi counties, we are seeing more and more vehicles on the road each and every day. That means that actually Nairobi is one of the most congested cities around the world. And we have also seen that for the past 5 years, we have seen an increase in the number of even registered boda bodas within the city, the boda bodas that are operating within the city. And this has been one of the major issues that contribute to emissions. Now, the Nairobi Metropolitan Services has recognized the problem and is taking some steps to address it. As you've mentioned, we've seen that there's some developments that are happening in the CBD. There's some infrastructural developments. The NMS, the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, has actually created non-motorist safe pathways and pathways for cyclists. So this means that it's trying to reduce the congestion through encouraging more people to cycle to work instead of using vehicles to work. So this is one of the long-term solutions that it's involved in contributing towards the congestion and the traffic pollution county. However, as I've noted, there's still a need for infrastructural investment in terms of resource mobilization. Currently, when you look at the pathways that have already been constructed, there are just a few streets. However, we still need to see more of these safe footpaths and safe cycling lanes, starting from the estates all the way to the city, so that Kenyans don't have to use motor vehicles to be able to get to work. Another thing is political will. The MS, the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, has actually provided the political will that is needed. And now there's need for more public engagement and also public education around the use of especially non-motorized walkways and pathways. This is very important because, as we've seen the other day, one of the cyclists who was coming from school, he was actually a student, a second-year student at the KU University, was hit by a bus that was coming from Githurai heading to town. So there is need for a lot of public education and public engagement that the Nairobi Metropolitan Service is currently engaged on, creating awareness around the use of these safe pathways and these safe cycling lanes, and how pedestrians, cyclists, and even drivers can be able to coexist together to ensure that there is proper use of the infrastructure that has already been created.
Thank you very much, Irene. For that, we will get back to you again. You give us more update for Nairobi. I will hand over to Dolphin, my colleague, to.
That's actually. Thank you, Charles. That's actually very interesting discussions from reports from Nairobi County, because it shows that the NMS is already doing something to help drive the county to a low carbon resilient economy. But like we can all agree that as all citizens of Nairobi, I believe everyone has a claim to this county. There's more that needs to be done, and there's more potential for more to be done. And given that now we have two centers of two centers of authorities, we should have even more being done towards helping Nairobi drive towards a low carbon low carbon county, basically. So I think with that,
there is one thing I would like to intercept, Dolphin.
Yes.
One thing that I can say for Nairobi has been the lack of engagement from the ward level. There is a lot of engagement at very high level, or youths who are very much involved, like maybe youth senate, but there is very little engagement at all the 5 wards, so that these climate actions, they can be adopted even at the ward level, not just focusing within the CBD alone. So I think that is one gap we would like to see, and question the authorities to see we have actions from the grassroots being supported also, and budget being allocated to that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Very true.
So basically, to cascade all these efforts and funding and initiatives to and then stream them to the grassroots and the local level. Actually, that sounds actually, so that we don't focus more on the super highways and our CBDs. So I think with that, in the interest of time, I have more about Nairobi, because we have a lot of shares in Nairobi, because at each point in everyone's life, you must just interact with the city of Nairobi. So I jump over to Abednego, Turkana County. So Turkana is one of the ESOL counties in Kenya. It is among the largest in surface area, I think. And I think going by recent discussions that we saw on TV, it was the land, how do I say, the surface area, or let me say the land mass, was somehow a factor contributing to the budgetary allocations for the counties. So Turkana is quite vast, just to emphasize my point. And it is also an arid area, meaning even before issues of climate change, it already had harsh existing conditions like little rainfall and such issues. You've highlighted that there are organizations that have come in to try and support the efforts, the county government and the people of Turkana, in addressing issues of climate change. If you don't mind, please, Abednego, could you highlight maybe some of the issues that have been identified by you also, the county government, and also its partners, that are linked to climate change, maybe issues that they can come out and point out that this is climate change induced, that they after this their engagement at the county, they can be able to point out that these are some of the issues that our country is experiencing in terms of climate change. And also, if you may just, if you could also inform us, how is your county planning to address if these issues, if they are such? So, Abednego, this is yours.
You're getting me loud and clear?
Yes, we can get you now.
Yes, Turkana County, like you've already said, Turkana County being one of the ASAL countries, its geographical position puts it into the vulnerability aspect of it being impacted with the issue of climate change. And as you already been informed, some of the climate change impacts revolve around the issue of drought and flooding. And this is because of the variability in climate, weather extremes, and also the issue of livelihoods being impacting on the people. And being specific on drought, from the recent studies, the county has been experiencing long spells of drought from 3 to 5 years period of drought. Then afterwards, floods are being experienced. And some of the parts that are hit by the drought are Loima sub-county. This one is far geographically positioned near to Uganda, and some of the wards being hit by drought, and some of the partners have already mapped include the Loima ward, Taukel ward, and specifically talking about Rochorai Ken and Namoru Pod, if you've heard of them. And the issue of drought has led to the reduced pasture for the livestock, and the Turkana County being one of the counties that solely depend on pastoralism, the livelihood of people is being affected, and this has led to the issue of low productivity of low productivity. This one is experienced from the low productivity of meat, reduced milk production, and this one revolves around water scarcity. And the issue of water scarcity has also led has also impacted the farming processes of people who are farming along River Taukel. There's increased farming taking place upstream River Taukel, and people downstream experience low water availability.
Thank you very much. Oh, okay. You can continue. Like, what are some of the efforts that maybe specifically the county, because you've talked about the partners, but what about the county government? Yes.
Pardon?
I'm saying you have highlighted that the partners that have come on board to support have mapped out key areas and key issues, inclusive of drought and reproduction of the livestock, as some of the issues that affect your county. So I was wondering what basically is the county government doing, because we have seen the hand of the other partners. So what about the county government? What is the county doing to address these challenges?
Climate change, the National Climate Change Act is maintaining the function of climate change into the counties, but the Turkana County government does not have the fund to cater for such issues like such issues that arise from climate change. But this does not mean that the county government is not doing anything with regard to climate change. The Department of Water Services, Environment and Mineral Resources, particularly the Department of Water Services, has been doing some effort partnering with some of the partners like JICA, in sinking of the boreholes in areas that has been hit by drought. There's also National Drought Management Authority, that is NDMA. NDMA is working closely with the county government in ensuring that the livelihoods of people is being protected, and that this one has been achieved through the cash transfer, that is HSNP, Hunger and Safety Cash Transfer. The county government is particularly taking part in climate change issue through the Department of Water Services. The issue of water is being catered through the sinking of boreholes. There are some dams that have been constructed. This helps in water harvesting, and also the issue of weirs construction. This one is also being is part of the efforts that is being done by the county government.
That's actually very interesting, and it's very good to know how the different agencies within government in Turkana County are working together. Because you mentioned the NDMA and your ministries. I'd like just to, before I let you go off the hook, I'd like to ask one question, because we've had Kitui County has set aside a budget to address issues of climate change. Within Turkana County, is there efforts that, in your opinion, that are leading towards the county government, maybe in the near future, planning to set aside a budget from the national budget to address issues of climate change?
Like I said before, the county government has enacted the Turkana County climate change policy, Turkana County climate change bill, and Turkana County finance regulation for the climate change. 3 documents has been tabled to the cabinet for enactment to be passed to the county assembly. And you see in this regulation, that is financing regulation, 3% of the county 3% of the county fund will be 3% of the development fund will be channeled to the climate change actions, and it is important to note that from the 3%, the fund will be used directly at ward level, and we have 3 subcommittees that has been selected to undertake the financing process. We have the steering committee, we have the planning committee, and ward level and ward climate change committee. And from the bill, the fund will directly be felt at ward level. The climate change projects will be tabled. We have different organizations, community-based organizations will come up with climate change actions, with climate change projects. Maybe water harvesting, people will be having, maybe they'll be having pasture, you know, the canal farming systems, irrigation systems, all those projects. The ward committee will go through them. Then they will pass to planning committee. Then the planning committee will pass to the county steering committee, and the fund will be given straight to the ward level.
Uh, Thank you, Abednego. That's very interesting, and it's actually what we were looking for when we started this discussion is that engagement at the ward and then at the grassroots level, which it is quite impressive because it seems like Turkana County is headed towards, it's almost there towards setting aside a budget, and they already have a plan of how that resource is going to be trickled down to the ward level. So thank you very much, Abenego, for that good report from Turkana County. I'll hand over to my colleague Charles.
Yes. Thank you, Abednego, for the plans we see for Turkana. And my next question goes to Agnes from Kitui County. Kitui County was highly in the media some few years ago for the ban of charcoal production. So I would like you, Agnes, to kindly highlight what has been the impact of this ban on the environment within Kitui County, as well as the impact on the livelihood as a result of this ban. Go on, Agnes.
Okay. Thank you. The charcoal ban that was gazetted
Sorry. We give her some moment. Maybe.
I think
as
I think Agnes. Yes, I think
Yes.
Agnes is a yes.
Thank you. Continue, Agnes.
Okay. Okay. So it is a positive move, as I have said, because many of the communities, the families in Kitui County had relied on charcoal burning for home use, and it had become unsustainable to the environment because of cutting down of the trees. And we all know that deforestation is one major cause of climate change. So the ban has been a positive move for the environment in Kitui County because now people still cut down trees, but not as they used to. It's just there's a minimal on it, and which is a good thing. Impact on the livelihood of the residents. Most of the people in Kitui County were relying on the charcoal trade because mostly it was on being sold to the urban towns. And now the ban on the sale and transportation from to the outside, because it was not a ban on the burning mainly, but it was on the sale and the transportation to other counties. It was supposed to be within now so that it can be minimalized to save the environment, and also it's like a greening initiative in itself. So most of the people were disturbed by the decision, and it caused an uproar. But now it has caused them to think outside the box and be able to diversify their income strategies. So people moved from the charcoal trade to other activities such as farming to boost their income so that they can feed their families.
Thank you very much, I just wanted you to elaborate on the impact. We had seen some projects on the promotion of clean cooking and briquette from the Kitui County government. Would like you to to speak about this, because that is one way of diversifying livelihood as people move away from unsustainable ways of exploiting the environment.
Yeah, that is true. The county government helped enforce the law because they try to help the communities understand that it's firewood cannot be the only main source of fuel as they were used to before. So they have encouraged alternative uses of fuel, such as the charcoal briquettes, which are a green form of energy. They're also encouraging the use of solar lanterns for lighting. So this is actually a good move from the side of the county government, which shows that they are actually putting some effort in contributing to renewable energy adoption.
Thank you very much. I don't know if there are any tree planting initiatives that currently you are being involved, and also the challenge of water, because now you are moving towards farming for other alternative ways of livelihood. How is the county planning to deal with the challenge of water and other greening initiatives like tree growing within the county to help alleviate the situation of deforestation at the county?
Okay, so mostly it's agricultural production, like I said, in the organization that I work in, Kitui Development Center. We are majorly focusing on the communities so that we can build their capacities, help them improve their resilience in helping them in development matters. And as I said, in the 5 areas, we are in partnership with Pelham Kenya, and there's a water pan that is being constructed within a community, which will help in the water scarcity problem. There are also boreholes and shallow wells that are also supposed to help the community members in the agricultural production, which will also help in consumption and also in agricultural production. Also under agriculture, the project that I currently work in focuses mainly in involving the youth and women in agribusiness opportunities. So we go to the local farmers and we help them get the trainings that they need, and we are trying to create linkages with financial institutions so that they can get access to finances, which is very vital in agribusiness, and trainings on better agricultural practices, which will help them improve and boost their yields, which will also help them earn more income, be able to support their families, and thus they'll be more resilient to any effects of either climate change or just be able to at least sustain themselves and their family. It's a sustainability approach.
Thank you very much, Agnes. We'll be following you up in Kitui on the ground to see the good work you're doing, and also to see how we can catalyze so that this can impact more livelihoods at the same time. I will hand over to my colleague Dolphin.
Yes, before we jump over to the next station, it's interesting to know that the county is actually embracing green let me call them green technologies like briquettes and biogas. No, and you said briquettes and clean cook stoves. I've had that, and I would just want to know what has been the uptake. Are people embracing this new technology as compared to basically the idea of charcoal? Like, are people starting to buy, embrace, lean more towards briquettes than to charcoal, or are people still a bit resistant to, holding on to charcoal, or are they finding a balance between the two?
I can say that they're trying to find a balance, because there are some that are still resistant, and you will just find them still collecting wood for fuel, not necessarily charcoal, the what we call kuni. But there are some that are also they're not resistant to the change and are actually adopting the charcoal briquettes, because it's actually easier, it's cheaper, and it's faster. It's like using a gas, only that gases are expensive for the low income earners.
Okay, thank you very much, Agnes, for that clarification. On to the final, the next round of questions. This is to all of you, our speakers. That's Turkana, Nairobi, and of course Kitui. In your opinion, from your observation, what is the engagement of the county government and the youth at the county level in regards to issues of climate change and the broader environment? Has there been any engagement? What is the nature of engagement? What is basically the relationship? Because we've had, Agnes has talked about youth and women in agribusiness. So my question basically is there a relationship between the county government and the young people, like official channel of engagement between young people and the county government? For example, for Turkana, I would ask, are there, because you talked about the ward committees. I'm curious to know, because I was reviewing the Kisumu County Climate Change Act. I think it's in the process, the one for last year, and I think the key issue that has been missing is the youth aspect, basically. So, is there a youth aspect uh, within these ward committees and within the broader county engagement in your counties? So, I'll start with Irene, of course, Nairobi County. Is there youth engagement between climate change and the or environment at the county level, formal youth engagement, apart from, of course, the CSO aspect?
Okay, thank you. First of all, we know that Nairobi has one of the youngest populations around the country. This is because we have a lot of rural-urban migration in Nairobi, meaning that the people who are coming to Nairobi are mostly young people who are coming to look for work. And therefore, most of the climate change impact we're experiencing in Nairobi have the greatest impact or vulnerabilities on young people. So the engagement that is there between the young people and the county government in terms of climate change and the broader environmental sector is basically around issues of community activities or community services, where we see that the county has been engaging a lot of youth groups, either in holding tree planting activities, as well as doing some cleanups around the informal settlements, particularly working with young people in the informal settlements. We have also seen that even the county and also the national government involved actually a youth group to do the renovation of the John Mishuki Park, which is in Nairobi County, and also the cleanup of Nairobi River. So there's been that engagement around community work and community services. And also we're seeing that engagement also where young people are raising awareness around the impact of climate change on social media, and they're engaging with the county government, especially this past week, where a lot of young people have been engaged in the Climate Action Week activities. But the negative aspect to this is that there is barely any involvement of young people by the county government at the policy making level. This is what Charles had alluded to earlier. And That is very, very true. One of the reasons for this is number one, there's little awareness amongst the young people about the decision-making structures. And number two, there's very little effort by the government in terms of including more young people at the policy-making level and just promoting that awareness amongst the youth group. So I think one of the reasons to this is number one, there's that historical and even cultural bit where we're just used to certain people being there at the decision making table, and therefore if we miss a particular group in it, we don't notice, we just do things as usual. So one of the solutions to this is this need for deliberate action amongst policymakers at county government to involve young people in decision making level. For example, if we are going, for example, in the next step, if we are going to review the draft climate change action plan, we need to have people asking where are the young people in this table? Where are the youth groups in Nairobi who are mostly involved in the cleanups, in the tree planting? So where are they in the decision making table? They can't just be useful during the cleanups and the tree planting, sure. Another thing where we see very little engagement between the young people and the county government is because when you look at other civil society organizations, we see a lot of civil society organizations have come together to form one strong voice in which they are voicing out the issues around climate change and environment. But when you look at the engagement between young people and decision makers at the county, it's usually unitary. Like it's only individual youth organization or individual youth groups engaging the county government. So there is no that mobilization and organization amongst young people who are doing work around in the environmental sector and forming this one umbrella strong voice that can agitate around the impacts of climate change on young people in Nairobi, that will be able now to sit down and demand a seat at the decision making table, and the county government can be able to listen to them. I have an example to this. When we were developing and the memorandum that we need to have funding allocated for the climate change policy in Nairobi, we went and asked the person who was involved in environment, so how are the young people involved in this action? And they actually said that youth is not an issue. I don't know. There's this just general thing about policymakers that they always think that as young people we are asking for too much or we always want to be noticed. But it's very important for them to know that climate change impacts affect the young people and affect the women most. Therefore, it is very important that young people are involved in the decision making table as well as you involve them in the activities that are there at the community level.
Thank you, Dolphin. I have one question for Irene.
I also have a couple. So, Charles, you can start.
I would just like to say one thing in terms of the engagement for the young people in Nairobi, because I've been involved with the mobilization of most of these groups of young people. It has not been quite sustainable or in terms of towards improving livelihood. It's more towards casual engagement, more of cleanups, like now Kazatani, and to me as a climate change enthusiast, I see that as a big gap in terms of coming up with sustainable projects that can generate income, and they can exist beyond being dependent on the government or the civil society. So I'm not seeing that kind of trajectory. I don't know what can you say about that, and what do we need to do to have that kind of dynamic?
The main problem with that, Charles, is because the young people are never involved during the design of these projects. And if we can have the young people involved from the onset, during the design, the implementation, and also maybe when you're doing the monitoring, you'll find that when you involve the young people during the design, they'll tell you, okay, we like all these ideas that you're bringing up. However, we think that this and this could work much better and could be more sustainable for us than doing the casual cleanups or the casual tree planting or the casual whatever things that we do. So it's basically young people are not in the decision-making table yet. It's not that made that urgent. It's not just urgent in the national and even in the county level.
And I was thinking also in terms of the design of the project, so that we don't have just cleanups and the usual tree planting, which again they will start branding the young people are not organized there. Okay, so that we can have tangible resources being channeled to bankable projects at the ward level, county, and county level.
Irene, just if I could just jump in, you mentioned a key issue. There's this, you mentioned something about there's this perception when they see young people, they want to see cleanups and all that.
Yeah.
But you know, do you think it is because of the perception that young people don't have, can't contribute actively on the table in terms, that's why they don't involve young people at this policy at the policy stage? Because personally, I think I've been involved in the review of NCAP, National Climate Change Action Plan, and I think the national government has tried a bit. I think at the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change Directorate has tried a bit to engage young people. I think they already have a file for basically for young people engagement on issues of climate change. So when you go there, you get the youth file, which is but also I'd like to ask myself, is it we're not involved because we might maybe be lacking capacity to basically engage on this issue? Because when you go to some of these meetings, there's a lot of technicalities that not every young person might be able to comprehend, because not everyone is at the same level. Or do you also think that maybe young people lack the incentive? Because I know from my engagement, basically with the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change Directorate, it was because the person who mentored me, the youth who came before me, took the initiative to go and actually, demand for a seat at the table. And as a result, the young person who came before me actually was part and parcel of development of NCAP, basically, because there's that incentive. So do you think the blame is heavily lies on basically the attitude of the older generation towards young people? Or do you think also sometimes we young people, we lack the incentive, initiative just to take up and start engaging in these processes? Because we need to clearly highlight that. And it's sad because the Ministry of Environment National is within Nairobi County, and they have managed to engage a bit of young people and also interpret with other CSOs like PACJA, Care Kenya at the national space. But Nairobi County, this is where the headquarters of, let's say, environment in the country is. But Nairobi County, the county has failed to basically involve young people, this is the same area, the same geographical locality on issues of climate change. So I do not know if it's the same. Do you think maybe we need more representation? Because young people, I know there's a youth seat at the National Climate Change Council. Do you think we should have youth seats at the County Climate Change Council so that we start being part of the process? So Agnes, over to you, then we push it over to Turkana.
It should be Irene.
Oh, Irene, sorry, I keep confusing. Irene, over to you. And push over.
For me, I think it's twofold. It's twofold because number one, young people, to be honest, there's a lot of technicality around the policy formulation and basically issues of advocacy at the policy level. So a lot of young people are not built to understand the technicalities and the information that are being discussed. Even when you look at something like even the budget making. So we have a climate change policy, but in terms of be able to operationalize the policy, you need to have a budget. How many people are involved in advocating for a budget towards the implementation of climate policies? So very few, because very few people understand the processes that are there at the county level in terms of policy, legislations, even the strategies just reading even a CDP, a lot of people are not able to understand. Secondly, I will say there's very little intention from the policymakers. Why? Because last year we organized a climate justice march in the city, and we had a turnout of over 2,000 young people, and majority of them came from the young people living in Nairobi, the youth groups specifically, especially from informal settlements. And when you look at the policy proposals that were presenting, both the county government, the national government, it's the people who contributed towards developing those policy proposals. So the young people have been engaged very much in trying to be involved in the process, but the policymakers at the county level are still not yet there, are still not that flexible enough in terms of thinking of doing a deliberate attempt of even developing a list of these groups that have been engaging with them and just inviting them every time that there's something around the climate change policy. So this it's still both ways. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Agnes. And yeah, I think we can both agree that there's need for more youth involvement. But personally, I know there's a seat at the National Youth Council for young people, but I want to hear about these seats maybe at the County Climate Change Council, Ward Climate
Wow.
Change Council. So over to you. Yes, Irene. You have some. You feel like
I
say yes.
Let me just say I'm not sure about that seat at the what level, or at the village level or at the county level. If there is none, I would advocate for more representation of young people in seats.
Okay. So maybe
Mm.
a better can highlight to us because that county seems to be doing a lot of things at the ward level because we are hearing about the ward climate change committees. So Abednego, what is the nature, what is the relationship between young people and the county government of Turukana in your county? Is there effective youth engagement? Because in Nairobi County, there's very little youth engagement. What is that nature of engagement? So Turkana County, over to you. Unmute.
Thank you very much. You're
Yes.
getting me. To start with the broader environment sector, the youth of the county are being engaged in so many aspects. Last year, we had during World Environment Day on 5th June 2019, there was climate change walk awareness that was conducted in Lodwar town, and the youths were actively involved. The youth of Lodwar and the environs around Lodwar town, and this was sponsored by some of the partners like the Caritas, Catholic Diocese of Lodwar, and the Turkana County government was also was also taking part in that work. Nationally, World Environment Day was nationally celebrated here in Turkana County, and it is commendable to highlight that the youths of Turkana County were involved in so many activities. There are two components that were touching mainly on the youths. That is the tree planting activities at the household level, and the youths were engaged. The youths were the ones who were distributing seedlings. They were the ones who were taking part in tree planting exercise, and also they were advocating for climate change. They were giving out messages on climate change to the various households in Lodo. And talking about the policy making, as I had already highlighted, if the bill will be passed, the county climate change bill will be passed, it will be a plus to the youths of Turkana County, because the bill the finance regulation, in the finance regulation, the planning committee, which is at the top of it all, the planning, I mean the steering committee is the one which is at the top. The steering committee, the planning committee, and then the World Climate Change Committee. And in each of these committees, there is youth representation. The steering committee has 14 members. And in this 14 slots, there is one slot for the youth. And this slot is for the youth that will be nominated from the umbrella organization of the youth in Turkana County. If there is a Turkana Youth Association, the association will sit down and nominate one youth to be represented in this steering committee. The second committee, the second committee, that is the planning committee, also has a slot for the youth. And the other one that at the grassroots level, that is the ward planning committee.
Thank you very much, Abednego. Those are good and a bit encouraging reports from Turkana County. And yes, I think I've been part of the climate march, and I think I was also part of World Environmental Day 2018 in, I think it was somewhere in Kwale. And I feel from my personal opinion, not anyone's, I feel like we need to be engaged beyond just on this we wait for a day, let's say World Wetlands Day. World Environmental Day is when we engage young people, and then we brand them, and then we say we're engaging young people. I like the approach that your county has actually taken to have a youth, in these committees at the ward level. But I think for me, I would also like to hear that at the onset of policy development, if it's the county climate change bill or county climate change act, there is the youth aspect within this, so that we are there from the start, and we are not involved in the middle or towards the end of this of such initiatives. Like I think the National Treasury was running a program financing locally led climate action, and I feel like they have tried to bring in a youth aspect from the onset of the development towards also going down towards the all through the process of the project. And it's actually a good example of how our governments, the national and the county government, need to have very strong youth engagement, and not just wait for these events to mark these initiatives. So I'd also like to hear from Agnes. Thank you very much, Abednego, for that very
1 minute, Dolphin. Can I contribute
yes,
to Abednego?
Yes.
Abednego, I would like to say
In
it
Kitui
is very
County, we
commendable.
have the youth have been engaged.
Agnes,
And we also have, yes.
Agnes, if we could have Charles 1 minute and then we come back to you. So sorry. But he has a point on
Okay. Thank you. Abednego, I would like to ask
the door
you
that is closed. Oh, you want a t-shirt?
Yes, Charles.
Abednego, in terms of it's very commendable to have the youth and these committees. And my question is just on building their capacity so that they can actively and proactively contribute to these forums with the actions and plans that they have engaged other young people in their respective wards or in their respective sub-county with tangible projects. For example, it will be very commendable if we have like 3 nurseries in every ward level within a certain capacity, and it's given a budget, and young people are given capacity and the skills to set up such kind of a tree nursery enterprise. So we would like these gaps to be even put at the policy, at the bill, and at the implementation level at all the plans, so that it's not just loosely mentioned in policy so that we guarantee the involvement and also transformation of livelihoods of these young people, despite their capacity or knowledge to be able to absorb this kind of green project. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Charles. I think with that, we'd like to also, we've not had the case of Kitui County on the relationship that young people have with the county government at that level. So, Agnes, the floor is finally yours. Sorry for the earlier interruptions. So, Agnes, can take the floor.
Okay. In Kitui County, the youth have been engaged in the climate change engagement in the county level. In the wards, we have the ward planning teams, as the same case with Turkana County. And in the ward planning teams, there must be youth representatives, which are chosen among themselves in a baraza. They call the county calls for a baraza selection, and people show up from the communities in the wards, and they choose a representative, some youth representatives, and some women, giving also opportunities for the special groups of people, like the people living with disabilities. And then the remaining slots can then be distributed accordingly to other people. And the people who are in the ward planning teams are trained on climate change issues and also on proposal development, so that they can come up with the pressing needs of the immediate community and write proposals on the same, so that the projects can be implemented. That is usually the first tier of the structure. Then the second tier is the technical committee. This is composed of the line ministries, such as the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Water, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Health. So the proposals that were developed by the ward planning teams are presented to the technical committee to review and see if they meet the climate-proof guidelines. Those that do are then presented to the third tier, which is the steering committee, which is to approve for funding of the projects to begin, so that they can start being implemented in the ground for the community to benefit from them. And currently there are 21 wards that have already implemented which have the ward planning teams, and 12 projects have already been implemented, which were developed by 11 wards out of the 21. And there are 10 that are awaiting approval at the county level. So I can say that this engagement is really promising, and we are looking forward for more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agnes. It's good to know that you have a bit of youth engagement also from the proposal development. Just to clarify, before I think my colleague Charles might have a question or two on your youth engagement, you've mentioned the tiers, basically the stairs at which the proposal rises until the approval for funding. I want to just get a bit of clarification. I might have missed it a bit in these steps, because we have the proposal writing stage and training. After this, the first stage that it goes, all those steps is there a youth representative in each and every one of these tiers, or there's none youth representative? Just for you to clarify that.
Okay. No, the youths are involved in the ward planning teams, and in the project management committee after the projects have been approved by the steering committee, which is the final stage for approval, because they're the ones that after they have approved, the funds are then released for the projects to be implemented in the communities. The projects are to be owned by the communities themselves and not by the county government. So they then form what is known as a project management committee, which comprises of community members, among them youths. Youths are selected so that they can be able to do the monitoring, assess if the project is working for them and what more needs to be done, or maybe if they can also challenge the nearby communities to do the same if it's a successful project.
Thank you for that. Charles, I think you might have a question or two.
No, I think Agnes has responded very well. Just what I was able to clarify on the particular engagement at the ward level, and to ensure there is high adoption of this climate action by the young people. So I think that is very commendable, and we will learn from each other.
Just to basically wrap up this session, I'd like to pose a question to all our speakers of today. Do you think if let's say if young people in your counties right now would be allocated resources uh, to engage on climate action activities, do you think your young people in in Nairobi, in Kitui, and in Turkana, do you think they are at a level where they can adequately develop proposals to access these resources, or come up with initiatives to access these resources, implement and report back, just from your personal opinion? So, and as you give back, as you answer that, kindly, we could try, in the interest of time, because we've gone over an hour, try to give your final remarks as we conclude. So I'll start again with Nairobi County.
Yes, I think the young people in Nairobi County are capable of being able to utilize resources to develop a project design and implement the program, and even monitor and provide reports on how that particular program was able to achieve its intended goals. Because there's a lot of work young people are doing in the communities, and even as they're doing these activities voluntarily, most of them are actually doing it by developing proposals to donors and even stakeholders who might be. So there's that capability and awareness out there. So I would say one of the most limiting aspects of young people actually is availability of funding for the activities that they're already doing voluntarily. So my answer to that question is yes. My final remarks is that there's need for greater involvement of young people in the policy making process, the full cycle. So it's the policy formulation, in the policy implementation. As is the case of Nairobi County, we need to see more young people being involved, even as we push for the adaptation of the Nairobi County climate change plan. And we need to see that deliberate action from the policy makers. So this way that we can ensure that more young people's voices are included in that particular policy. And also we are calling on other youth serving organizations, just as we do it by the Youth Senate Kenya, that we want to have more collaborations with other youth serving organizations, even as we push for the voice of young people, because we cannot walk in this journey alone.
Thank you, Agnes. Irene, sorry, I don't know why I keep confusing the two. I'll skip over to Rukana. The floor is yours. Unmute yourself. Yes.
Sorry. Thank you very much. For Turkana County Youth, I think if the resources will be allocated for the climate change projects, the youth are in the capacity to undertake they can be able to do such projects. They can be able to handle the fund. They can be able, but still there's a gap in the capacity building. In as much as we want to put the resources to the youth, there is a gap in capacity building. It's important to come and educate the youth on the climate change matters, on the projects, on the climate smart, on climate smart, on agriculture smart. I think on climate smart agriculture. Yeah, on climate smart agriculture, and also the renewable energy aspect of it, and in so doing, the youth will be able to undertake the projects. The county is doing, like I've already, it's commendable. The county is doing something on that, but it's as I give out my final remarks, it's important to involve the youth on the policy, on the whole policy making process, and not the final implementation process or the final process. It's important, like my colleagues have already said. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Abednego. Agnes, the floor is yours.
Okay, I think the youth are capacitated in proposal development in different topics, areas, and different sectors, because climate change is it cuts across all the sectors in the economy. Given the resources, especially finance, and given the opportunity to be able to present their ideas, because the youth are very creative and innovative. I know that much can be done when we involve the youth in the policy making decisions, even in the Climate Change Council. They are involved in the ward planning teams, but we also need to have a representative even at the last stage of the steering committee to also approve these funds. And if a step is taken to maybe like train them on what is most important, on how they're supposed to do the policies and the approvals, I know they're in a better way. They can be able to manage what they are given and come up with very viable solutions to combat climate change. So we need to be given a platform to voice our needs and set the priorities right for climate change action. There's need for continued mainstreaming of climate change actions into the county integrated development plans, as they have, but currently they have only done a little effort, I can say, because they have mentioned actions in the county integrated development plans, but we need to sit down as stakeholders and come up with proper strategies and viable ones, sustainable, so that we can have a better Kenya, and as a green initiative, have a greener Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agnes. Thank you very much, Abednego and Irene, for your final remarks. Charles, over to you.
I think we have had a very interesting sessions, and there is a lot to learn from each other, and we need to jointly bring our efforts together and inspire each other to do more as the green champions or ambassadors in our counties. And one thing I would like to reiterate is the need for bottom-up approach and better community organizing, prioritizing of climate actions, and more participation of even the vulnerable or people who might have been left out at this discussion, so that we leave no one behind in these climate actions and strategies. Thank you very much for your contributions and your time to be with us in this meeting. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. For everyone watching, I think we've had, like Charles have said, I'll only reiterate, we've had very fruitful discussion, and we've been able to identify the gaps that are there at the county level in terms of youth engagement on and support, and how to basically support young people to engage in climate actions at the local level. And I think one of the key highlights that I think we can all agree is that there's need to support young people in terms of capacity building, because we see a lot of donors are going to support the county governments, and which is good, but we might also need young people also need support to be able to effectively engage on issues of climate change, and support in terms of capacity, basically, as one of the key aspects. And I think for me, this issue of support, it goes back to the national government and also the county government, and also there's non-state actors such as the private sector. I know Kenya Climate Innovation Center is doing a lot with young people on issues of climate change and innovation. We also need the civil society organizations. I think among them we have the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, we have Care Kenya, we have ADA Consortium. We need all hands on board to basically support young people to be able to deliver as they should, because we have heard that they have the potential to actually deliver on the required climate action. So all we need is support from the government, both national and county government, and also non-state actors. So in conclusion, we have one of our viewers who is very happy about the discussion, as you can see over there, and we need to urge our governments, we are urging our governments, national and county governments, to hold the hands of young people, support young people in whatever you're doing at each and every process, to have young people in your mind, because the CS environment say, young people will suffer more if effects of climate change are not addressed, because we have a lot more time to basically we'll be here longer, to put it in a very nice way. So we will live the effects of climate change. So with that, I'd like to thank all our speakers for agreeing to be part of this show and making those very valuable contributions and voicing out young people's opinions and perspective, and bringing basically the youth perspective from your counties. I'd like to thank also my co-host Charles. I'd like to thank the partners, that's Greening Kenya Initiative Trust and the Green Villages Empowerment Foundation. And with that, I'd like to say thank you, and watch out for the next episode very soon. So thank you and goodbye. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you.